and I'll never back down. In the middle of the ring is where I lay the smack down. Against all odds, I will always prevail. So when you step to me, it's like hell in a cell.
Greetings and salutations, this is Christopher Daniels. I'm talking to my main man Delzinski right now. Any video game show, any video game channel, any YouTube channel called Vintage Shizzle is indeed hashtag Daniels approved.
Yo, alright guys, Delzinski here. Welcome to another We Talk Weekend. And as per usual, I am joined by my partner in crime, Smack Talks. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, man. I'm pretty tired, though. It's been so much wrestling this week.
I know, it has been a really busy week in the world of wrestling. And also, as well, I've been pretty busy travelling to events because on Sunday, I've got a ICW event to go to. And obviously, just last week, I met the Icon Sting. So it's been really awesome for me. And it's a bit of a wrestling hangover now because there is so much to talk about here today on We Talk.
Absolutely. How did it go? How did seeing the Stunger go?
The what?
The Stunger?
It was really good, actually. I had a really, really good time. It was quite surreal, like, because when you first see sort of Sting with the face paint and everything like that, I was a bit like, wow, because it's not. I've met like people like Alberto Del Rio and a few guys like that before, like Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, Drew Galloway, but it's completely different feeling when you see someone like Sting who's like all painted up. I imagine it's probably quite a bit like the Undertaker if you see the Undertaker in his full outfit as well. It's
just something else.
Yeah, it's just it just like when I came around the corner where they're doing the photos and I was just like, wow. It was awesome. I had a really good time at the event. The organisers were really good as well, and the Q&A session was interesting. I'd be really interested to actually find out the Q&A from Glasgow and Manchester as well to see what questions came up there. But I found it interesting, and Sting's just what I think everybody already knows. To be honest with you, he's quite a humble, respectful, and decent guy.
Yeah. Did he seem to be in good health, or was he hobbling around? Or
no. He said the first question, the big question was, about his health, and he said he's not 100%, but he feels relatively good, but he's still got to go to the doctors when he gets back to the States to have a checkup and see the extent of his injury from the match with Seth Rollins. He did actually say that. He was getting tingling in his fingers early before he took the buckle bomb, so he knew something wasn't right. And then when he took the buckle bomb, it went to a whole different world of like pain. He just said my legs went, I couldn't focus, I couldn't do anything. That's why I had to go to the ground. He said he never ever felt that way in a wrestling match before. So it was a big deal, and what the question was asked to him: will he ever have another match? Is Taker on the table at some point? And his response was he wants it to happen, but he needs the doctors to, patch him up. And the way he said it was if miraculously they can patch him up. But I'm thinking, obviously, we've got quite a long time until WrestleMania, so that should still be enough time as long as it's not like a career-ending injury. So he looked great. He looked fantastic. So it didn't look like he was in any pain or anything like that. But obviously, you just don't know. You don't know the extent of this until the doctors actually, get you in there and tell you the truth.
Yeah, it's not something that he'd really admit to either, is it? He's going to want to stay upbeat and keep people happy, especially at like an event like that. You don't want to bring it down.
No, and I think as well for him is he's optimistic because I think he really does want that match with Undertaker. And I still definitely want to see it. I still think it would be a shame if we find out that, all this time we've had the opportunity, it's there on the table, and then it becomes the match that never was. And it would be disappointing, regardless of the outcome, the finish. But it was a great experience on the day to meet him. To actually meet an icon like that, I think Shawn Michaels or someone like that as well, I'd be just as much like sort of starstruck. But Sting, the face paint, everything is the total package. All I was waiting for was to be Scorpion Death Dropped, but I couldn't quite get the job done.
You could have got a video of that. That would have been amazing to put up on YouTube.
I know. I really wanted him. I really wanted him to just. I wasn't sure what to say to him to flip him off. I was just going to say something like maybe like Triple H done you at WrestleMania.
What did you say to him?
What did I say to him? Oh, well, the first thing, I did mention this on my other video, but I did say to him, I've been worried. I told this story on my other video, but I'll tell it quickly now. I've been panicking all week about getting the right pen for him to sign my shirt. So I've been like thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, I need to get the right pen. And basically, all his merch is basically black, innit? So that's quite annoying because you had to get a specific pen. So I was looking around, looking for these silver pens. I bought one. It was shit. It didn't work. I bought another one. It was a Sharpie. It was all right, but it still wasn't great. But I was like, oh, I have to deal with this. I have to take this one. So I got to the event, standing in the queue, looking, and I come around the corner, and I'm looking at the table, and thinking, and I was like, I actually said it out loud. I was standing next to this bloke. I was like, oh fucking hell, he's got loads of pens, isn't he? and then when I reached him, the bloke said to me, oh, what are you getting signed? And I was like, oh, I'm getting a t-shirt done. And then I give him the t-shirt, and I was like, he's like looking for his pens, and he's going. Where's the big one? Where's my t-shirt signing pen? And I'm like, oh, you've actually got a t-shirt signing pen, have you? And I said to him, I've been worrying about this all week that I was going to give you a Sharpie and it weren't going to work. And he was like, yeah, those Sharpies, they can cause you a bit of a problem. So this was the first exchange I had with Sting. And then obviously I had my picture. And I said to him, a hell of an effort at WrestleMania and also at Night of Champions. And yeah, it was cool. Shook his hand. Some people looked petrified to even be near him. I was well up for it. I was like, yeah, this is great. I was really excited.
Oh man, it must have been amazing for you, especially meeting a hero like that. So he didn't seem past it then? Because I've been calling him past tense lately. He's stung to me because he's past it. That's why he's the stunger.
I was trying to work out what you were saying then. I just thought it was your northern lingo of I don't know. I wasn't sure what that was.
Nah, he's gone from sting to stung.
Nah, he's been fantastic. I don't think he's past it. I think obviously, and as you know, instead of trying to wind me up, you know that he put on 2 great matches, in recent times. So he's still definitely got the ability as long as he can wrestle.
Yeah, it's like, wind you up, but at the same time, like, it'd be amazing to see him back in the ring for one final match. I think everyone wants to see that at WrestleMania against The Undertaker.
Yeah, I think win, lose or draw, whatever the outcome is, I think people want to see it. That was the main thing I took away from the meet and greet in the Q&A was, unlike other superstars, possibly like a Hogan or someone like that, where they are quiet. And he's been on Ric Flair's podcast recently, Hulk Hogan, and he still kind of hints towards, he was quite influential in booking. And unlike that with Sting's a lot more just there for the moment. Like, he was just humble to be invited to join the WWE, and it was like it was now or never. And then Triple H said to him, what about WrestleMania? Because you only thought he was going there to do promotional stuff. They made the offer to WrestleMania for him, and he was like, awesome, I'll do it. And he was just happy to be partnered up with someone like Triple H from the Attitude Era, an era that he sort of was around with all his WCW days. And he felt it was the right time to do it. The actual outcome of the match, the win, the finish, the loss, it wasn't a concern to him. He was there to put on a show. And I think sometimes that's a good thing because there's too much politicking in the wrestling business anyway. So when you have a guy like that, you should appreciate him. And he said WWE have been nothing but respectful to him.
So has it changed your opinion on the outcome of the match then? Because you've been very vocal about the fact he's lost these matches. So does it give you a new insight onto it?
It has, yeah. So it has. I still champion the fact that wins and losses do mean a big deal to me as a wrestling fan, and I'm sure it means a lot to everyone else as well. But
did it seem to mean a lot to Sting though?
Not really. No, not anymore. Not. I mean, well, not really. Full stop. Because if you look back at Starrcade, where they had the, I know you must know the finish of Starrcade '97, although you're not a WCW fan. No.
No.
Oh, Jesus. Everybody, apart from Smack Talks, knows the finish of Starrcade '97, where it was a year-long build with Sting. All they had to do was let Sting beat Hulk Hogan at Starrcade, and it was job done. And it would have been a clean finish, and Sting would have been the champion. The Crow Sting gimmick, going through that whole year where he hadn't spoken, all that sort of stuff, culminating into him being crowned champ. Well, they decided to go through this fudgy finish. They had Bret Hart involved. It was just a big fat mess. And again, kind of didn't really work, and it was spoiled, that whole thing, for Sting to be, his crowning moment. And again, he came back and he just said, I don't know who booked that finish, but again, it's never bothered me. I know it's probably annoyed the fans, but again, it wasn't an issue to him. So he's just like that through his whole career. He's just been happy to be a part of the wrestling industry and do the things that he's done. And I think that's quite commendable, because you could be like a Bully Ray. You could be someone who wants to be booked, all the time, strongly, and be very vocal of when he's not. And he's just not like that.
It's cool to hear, like, especially when you get someone like that where, they're just happy to be in there and doing it. And it doesn't really matter about the titles and things like that. As long as they're out there and they're getting to do what they enjoy doing, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at that WrestleMania match, and that was the bit that I did. When I got in, I watched it again, I watched it back, and he sort of said, the story, the idea of it, I know it wasn't about WCW, but when they actually did the match, it was almost like that was what it became, and to tell the story of, with the run-ins, when you had DX, the NWO, the bit with the baseball bat, smashing the sledgehammer and splitting it in half, the idea of that, I think, was that WCW were at the top, at the pinnacle, where they'd won X amount of weeks. I think it was like 16 weeks in a row on TV. It was like the point where WWE were at breaking point, only to then have, Triple H smashing with the sledgehammer and, almost reverse it and flip it on its head, and the WWE win the war. It was almost like that, and it did. The match did tell a story of that. So when you look at it like that, and Sting wanted to tell a story, and so did Triple H, they achieved what they went out to do.
It makes sense when you say it that way. Like, it's something that if you watch it back now knowing that, then I'm sure it'll take on a completely different kind of story to what you originally seen. But it makes sense in terms of what you've just said, like telling the story of how things happened, and then obviously the WWE eventually conquering.
Yeah, so I mean, from that side, I can have that closure. I'm kind of happy with it in a way.
You've calmed down now.
Yeah, but I do.
It only took you 6 months.
I know, but I do definitely think, and I do still stick with that. Wins and losses do impact certain superstars in certain ways. Sting maybe not so as much, but when we talk about current day things like Bray Wyatt and stuff, constant losses in big matches do impact them. So I won't take back that I can't. Let's just say that it's not the last time I'll probably bring up wins and losses.
I think that's a safe bet to make.
So, obviously, this week's We Talk, so quite a lot to talk about, as you can just see by now, but we've got a jam-packed show. The biggest news of the week has to be the fact that James Storm has arrived in NXT, but it's not quite a done deal yet from what I'm hearing, so me and Smack Talks are going to talk about that. We've also got Bound for Glory, and we're going to mention TNA because I think it's important to mention James Storm rocking up at NXT and what is going on at TNA at the moment. It's a bit odd. We're going to talk about that in some detail. NXT Takeover Respect, what an event that was. We're going to cover that as well, some of our favourite moments. And last but not least, Raw. And that kind of entwines into Brock Lesnar at Madison Square Garden, where he defeated the Big Show, where nobody's shocked. And the Big Show kind of must have suffered memory loss, because if I remember him coming out on Raw, he was saying that he pretty much pushed Brock Lesnar to the limit.
He did. He took him right to the limits. He was so close.
Did he? Did he really?
Well, I don't know what Lesnar's limits are, but I don't think they were reached.
It was ridiculous. Anyway, let's talk about something that's very interesting, very kind of shocking as well, I would have to say. James Storm arriving at NXT. Now, as I understand, and we were talking about it, there's a possibility that this will be aired next week.
It is. It's been announced it's going to be next week on NXT.
And with that being the case, it's going to be really interesting to see. I think everybody by now has actually seen the footage. I mean, it got leaked. It was all over social media. I posted a blog about it. Make sure you check out my blog. It's a We Talk blog. That will be in the description box below. And if you get involved in the blog, then I will talk about your comments here on We Talk. So what better way to get your views out there than by actually being on We Talk? It's definitely the place to be. But yeah, James Storm arriving in NXT, and I think it's a good move for James Storm. But it just again raises questions around TNA, like, you know, how they can let TNA Original go, and how do we think he's going to be utilised? Is he going to be, you know, a bit like Joe, sort of in the middle at the moment? But I don't really actually think in terms of booking it really matters at the moment. I think the reaction that James Storm got from watching some of that social media footage just goes to show how relevant a TNA guy can become if he arrives in the WWE, and I think it's a massive deal. It's almost come to a stage where TNA have become the development, and NXT is the place to go once you finish the development.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no longer developmental, is it? It's like a finished article when you've got a lot of them superstars in there, especially when you're getting these guys that are kind of legends of TNA and people that have been in the industry for such a long time. And it's amazing to see that they're actually bringing those guys in now instead of trying to avoid them and just taking on that they don't actually exist like they have in the past. So I think Samoa Joe's kind of changed that, and the reaction that he got, it's opened eyes, and now they're willing to bring in other guys. So that reaction that James Storm's got, such a huge reaction. I'm sure everything that he's seen on social media, it must be telling him, you know, this is where I've got to go. I can't go back to TNA now. Because it doesn't look like it's a done deal. He's been offered the same kind of contract that Samoa Joe got initially. So it's a deal where it's on the table. It's going to be lower pay. It's not going to be a full deal. And I think what TNA had said was that they'd offered him a deal a couple of weeks ago for the option to renew and sign a new deal with a little bit more money. But now that he's got this deal from NXT, he hasn't signed it. So TNA have come straight back to him and says, look, we've got a new contract for you. It's even more money if you want to re-sign with us, and we'll make sure you're all right with that. But I mean, in terms of reactions, surely everything that you see in these last day or so, it should be telling them there's no sort of question where he should go. It's got to be NXT. There's no way he should go back to TNA. He's done it. He's been there. He's done everything he possibly can. He should look to the future, and as we keep hearing, the future is NXT.
Yeah, if this was probably about 10 years ago, this would be a difficult decision, but it's kind of become now like a no-brainer. I think he has to go. He seems so heavily into it as well. Like, you know, he already changed all his Twitter and everything to, I think, some of the NXT stuff, and he was tweeting online. Some people were actually asking him as well on social media if he's coming to the UK for the Takeover tour, and he said you have to ask Triple H. So the relationship seems to be there. It seems to be good. So to me, it would seem absolutely ludicrous if he goes back on it and then re-signs with TNA. I would just think madness, and I would also think as well that would be his last opportunity with the WWE. So why would you want to risk it? Yeah. I think that sums it up.
But when I seen the picture of him, because there was a picture leaked where he was at Takeover with Billy Gunn, and it showed him from behind. And I was like, really? Is that really James Storm? Because like you couldn't tell, to be honest. And when I seen it, I was quite like optimistic that it would be, but at the same time, with everyone saying, "Oh, he's going to show up at Takeover and like we're going to get him on TV," I was like, I don't know if we really will, because he's only just been on Impact like the previous week with the sort of Revolution stuff coming to an end. So I kind of thought at the same time maybe he's still under contract with TNA and he's just there to kind of view the event. But then sort of thinking back, he was one of the guys that actually like finished their contract months ago. And it's because TNA have taped this so much in advance that he's still been on TV up till last week. So he's free to join the WWE, and that's exactly what he's done. I think it's the right move to make.
And the thing is as well, it's interesting because they let him use his name. They let him use James Storm by the looks of it. Same as Samoa Joe. And it really does now beg the question for TNA is, you know, WWE are just like sitting and waiting, like Triple H has just got that door open, and when these guys just come out, you know, you just can welcome them in. It's a completely different mindset from the WWE as to probably about 3 to 4 months ago, where they didn't want to acknowledge TNA in the slightest. But I think it's smart business, because just allowing them to keep their name, and I'm gathering obviously James Storm has the rights to his name. TNA haven't done a very good job there, but he has the rights to his name to use. And the marketing's done. You know, the sale of T-shirts and stuff, I think when Joe joined, they sold out in like, I don't know, like minutes. And the reason why that is because you know who that is. If you change the name, I know they did it with like Finn Balor, but with these guys that have been based in the States, based in TNA, established themselves as a star for TNA Impact Wrestling, the whole reason why people tune in to watch it is because regardless of how much you dislike or don't want TNA to do well, they have built up some good stars. They have built up some good talent. And TNA are relevant when it comes to something like this because you're tuning in to watch a TNA guy jump to the WWE. So, the issue is, the problem is TNA shouldn't have let it get to this stage. TNA should have put a stop on this. They should have made sure that James Storm was tied down to a long-term deal. They should never have let him get to this point. The TNA original should have all been secured. AJ, Joe, Rude, Storm, and like I mentioned on my blog, I'm beginning to think it's only a matter of time until someone like Bobby Roode starts to wake up and smell the roses, because he's probably going to be thinking to himself now, crikey, everyone around me who I was, here with originally have all gone to pastures new, and they've gone to places that are really, up a gear from TNA. So why would Bobby Roode want to just sit there and willow away his career?
Well, that was one of the first things I tweeted, like seeing that James Storm's gone in there. The next person I would love to see in is Bobby Roode, because I think he is such a great wrestler, and I've always kind of compared him with Triple H, because when you get heel Roode, he kind of gives you that feel like we had with Triple H in that era. And I think just bring them in NXT with the same name, it kind of rekindles the fact that we've got beer money in there. So not only would they be a great tag team, but also in terms of single matches, they've got that history there. And even though they can't really talk about it, the fans all know that. So it's not like Balor where he's come in from like primarily Japan and he's got like a big following over there. Everyone knows him as like Prince Devitt. So changing the name and stuff like that in the US, it kind of made sense. But when you've got people like Storm, Rude, Samoa Joe, they're all people that are well established in the US. They've been on TV week in, week out. So it makes sense to keep the same name. I just kind of believe that TNA haven't like had them contracted to say, if we're going to sort of take your naming rights and things like that, the way that WWE do. So if you go somewhere else after this, you can't use that same name. But at the same time, it's a huge benefit for WWE. But I don't think there'll be any way they'll sort of sign them and say, if you go back to TNA, then you're going to keep all these rights. I think they'll try and get them tied into a contract where it gives them sort of the rights to the names and image rights.
Yeah, possibly. But I think at that point, or at this point with guys like Storm and Joe, does it really matter at that point?
I think we talked about this when Joe signed. Like, this is like the last run for them. So they want to make as much money as they can to kind of go out on top. So if it means signing over sort of naming rights and image rights, then I don't think they really have a problem with it.
No, and that's what I think probably should be the defining factor. This is their biggest run. This will be the defining point for them. I would say someone I would like to see is Austin Aries move over there, because I just watched back. I was watching some TNA stuff last night. I was watching a bit of Sting versus Jeff Jarrett. It was quite a long time ago. This was when it was in its prime and people were interested in the product. And I watched Aries win against, I think it was Bobby Roode. He beat Bobby Roode for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This was the night when CM Punk tweeted that TNA finally got things right. It was a massive night. And I just can't believe how someone like an Austin Aries has just, fallen down the pecking order to a point that he's decided to leave. It just shocks me. And I really think that WWE should grab Austin Aries, because he's an awesome talent. And again, I'd love to see him mix out with guys like Finn Balor, rekindle a proper feud with someone possibly like a Joe, a James Storm. The options now are endless with WWE taking this stance that they are now willing to notice TNA as a company and bring guys in with, they're noticing them in a way that it only benefits them. So it's smart. And I think it's exciting. It's not good for TNA though. That's the problem. And I just wanted to quickly mention a few comments from my blog this week. Like I said, haven't checked it out yet. Check the link in the description box below. But my blog was all about James Storm, and I got a few comments, and this was just what people thought about James Storm joining WWE and NXT. And Cody Croft says he's super excited. He's really liking James Storm, and the fact that, WWE should have tried to get hold of him for years. And he said that, it's finally become reality, and he's super happy for him. He deserves it. The Critic Man, he says that he can't wait to see James Storm in NXT. He thinks he could be the next person to feud with Tyler Breeze. Interesting. And then Grant Hudson says, I think it's great that Storm is in the WWE, and I'd love to see him feud with Joe at some point, Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, Tyler Breeze, which could all be great matches. I hope Bobby Roode comes so we can see beer money. So as you just said, Smack Talks. And that seems to be the general consensus. It's like, if you look at the roster, the more additions they make, the more awesome matches we can get. And NXT is now actually a monster in itself. I really feel that it rivals the main product. And that's the problem for TNA now. It is now the ground where WWE can capitalize, take talent, and then put them on this big show that is NXT.
Absolutely. And we keep talking about TNA and how we want it to go back to the way it was, because it used to be amazing like years ago, 5-6 years ago. And I think the only way we're ever going to get back to that is if we get these guys in NXT. And the fact that we've now got Joe in there, we've got Storm as well. Like, even them two going up against each other, it should be like an amazing match. And we know the kind of history for both men. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing. I'd love to see more people come in. And what I think is, like, it's really strategic from the WWE, because not only are they bringing in the people that they know they can use and they can profit from, but they're also taking those TNA talents off of the market so TNA kind of pick them back up. And I think it's going to be really hard for TNA going forward, because they kind of bring in the TNA legends anymore if they're signing with the WWE. Instead, they're kind of relying on bringing in younger talent and sort of building up new stars again, which at the moment, it's something that's really hard to do because they are struggling so bad. You need those kind of top names in there. And like you said earlier, it makes you wonder why they haven't signed these guys up to long-term contracts when they know they're in so much trouble. They need these guys to actually sell tickets, have people watch the shows. It's just not looking very good for TNA, and I really can't see them staying around for much longer.
And that's even worse. That's the even bigger problem, is that, WWE, will let them build up these younger talent, and then they'll go and take them as well. EC3 is a great example. I mean, WWE didn't really originally push him very good when he was first in NXT back then. And then he left. He went to TNA. He's established himself now. He's building himself up with a great reputation. And I wouldn't be surprised that, that WWE will be keeping an eye on that situation. And if he then falls out of favour, or TNA do, unfortunately, struggle to retain the company, they'd just go pick him up. Again, he's got a reputation. It's been established. People know who he is. They've done the work for them. They don't have to put him through a developmental to train him up and teach him anything, because he's just ready-made.
Absolutely. And I think that is the big difference. Like, TNA are doing like such a good job of like building people up, but then they let them go and they don't tie them down to a contract. So it's easy for the WWE to bring them in because they're on kind of a roll. We've had like Bully Ray going from like world champion and stuff in TNA, and then he goes into WWE and like, wow, that's Bully Ray, who's like TNA world champion. Where when you look at the opposite way, got people like Drew McIntyre in WWE with 3-man band, completely jobbing every single week. They totally ruined him, and then TNA had to like go through that whole building them back up. And it's the same with a lot of the guys that WWE release. Before they do that, they tend to like really have them go under and squash them. So it makes it really hard for TNA to have to reinvent some people and sort of build them back up. Whereas the opposite way, James Storm leading the Revolution and everything like that, he was another guy that was on top in TNA, and he's gone NXT, and it hasn't hurt him at all. It's been like great progression for him. It's not like when it goes the other way and TNA have to spend so much time reinventing a certain person.
Yeah, and the trouble is as well is it's not just like originals and future talent. It's like legends as well. So, we've just seen recently, obviously, the Dudleys go back, Sting. So it's anyone. WWE are open to poaching anyone at the moment. It's a massive change, a thought process that they've gone through, because a little while ago, they weren't even, wanting to go anywhere near anything that had been near TNA. This to them, it was just about development from NXT, and that was it. That was their territory. That's what they did. But now, I mean, it's blown everything wide open, because the Hardys, I'm looking at. I'm thinking, Kurt Angle. I'm looking at everything, and I'm thinking that anything is possible now. And that, just like I said, and like you've mentioned, it's not good if you're a TNA fan, or if you're working at TNA as a writer or Dixie Carter, because you're just open to losing your talent.
Absolutely. And it must be really hard for the writers if they've got plans in for people long term, and then they fail to get the contracts in there and people walk away. So I think you just mentioned there the Hardys. They were someone that was else on like a poll of WWE.com asking who people want to see return, And obviously, right up there, it's the Hardys. You've got Kurt Angle in there as well. So I'm sure it's people that are on the radar, and it's people that they're going to try and pick up as soon as them contracts expire. Especially sort of seeing the reaction that these TNA guys are getting. Because, with the Dudleys, not only have they got a great reaction because people know them from TNA, but you've got the full WWE history going back further and people recognizing them from that, everything they've done in the past. So the Hardys especially, I think it'd be absolutely huge to get back. Even if they're not as good as they used to be, they're not as fast and things, like it doesn't matter because they've got that recognition in there and they're working with the younger guys and it's only going to help them.
Yeah, it's just a win-win for the WWE. I think the worst bit as well with TNA at the moment is they've kind of brought it all on themselves. It's just been bad booking. It's led to the talent being disillusioned with the company and leaving, and it's hard to defend them at the moment because I genuinely do think a lot of their downfall has been because they didn't book things right, and people were just saying yes, and it's kind of it's kept going because if we look at Bound for Glory and we move into Bound for Glory from James Storm, you just can see that there's still problems there with booking talent. I mean, the main event, Ethan Carter, Drew Galloway, and Matt Hardy, and that was supposed to be a singles match between the two of them, and I was thinking to myself that looked really good on paper. We just want a clean finish, very simple, nicely done. Put on a good match at your biggest pay-per-view of the year and have someone win clean. The booking, though, can't be done that way in TNA. It goes out the window. Whether it's John Gaburick, I don't know. Somebody down there is accountable for making these mistakes because then they go full throttle. And I said they'd do this on my blog anyway. I said that they would do this. They decide to then, have the Hardys play a major part. And I think it was in their hometown, which, makes sense. But, it was if you're going to do what they did on the night, then you don't do what they did after that night. And what they did do was, they cost Ethan Carter his belt. They gave it to Matt Hardy. Wasn't that bothered then. Still thought it would have been much better if we just had a clean match than, Jeff Hardy helping out his brother. I thought that was a bit, but I get why they did it. But it opened up to the point where the night after Bound for Glory, we've got some sort of injunction on Matt Hardy. This is where we go. This is where we start seeing the cracks appear because this is a storyline that is ridiculous. They go down the route of, an injunction against Matt Hardy from EC3. So Matt Hardy can't wrestle on TV anymore and he's going to give up his TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And in doing so, it completely destroys the whole nostalgia and the winning of the title in his hometown because it was a big deal and it would have been all right if they kept going with, Hardy celebrating, EC3 maybe moving in that feud. They could have rectified it in some way. But no, they didn't. He's released the belt. Now we've got a world title series going on where even a knockout can win the belt. And I'm kind of running out of things to say about it because I just thought this night at Bound for Glory was so easy to book and so simple to do, and they just go completely 360 and go crazy on it all again.
It's just total overbooking, which is exactly what we said earlier, that you don't always need. Like, a simple finish is like perfect to go with. But they've gone well over the top with this. It makes no sense. And this whole injunction thing, the point in Matt Hardy releasing the title was to kind of make that injunction go away. So if that's the case, you would expect him, along with EC3, to be in this title hunt. So he's not even in the tournament, is he?
No, it's just stupid, and to make it just to make it crystal clear of how stupid it's getting, right? I did a bit of research on TNA, Smack Talks. If you don't have to go there, I've already done it for you. I've already done it to take away the pain for you. But I'm on the TNA website at the moment, right? I'm on the roster page, yeah? Mm-hmm. So we have to think about people that have left this company, right? And on the TNA roster page, on their website, we have Austin Aries on there. He's left. Yeah. And he's now in the World Title Tournament, right? He's on the title tournament, but he's left the company. So it doesn't make sense because they obviously record things like 8 weeks before. Really not smart, not good, right? But anyway, we'll maybe give him the benefit of the doubt because he is involved in some sort of shape or form, right? But we'll keep going. Bully Ray is still listed on their roster. He was even tweeted about this, saying that TNA are listing you on the roster. And his response was, you won't find me there, you'll find me on WWE Raw. So, but they haven't removed that yet. They haven't picked up on that tweet. They haven't removed him yet from the website.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's just purely to try and like make the roster look a bit better than what it is, because it's half the size of what it should be.
But I'm not done yet. I'm not done. I'm not done by a long shot. I'm definitely not finished yet. Now, I thought that Crazy Steve had apparently left, but he's kind of back in his title tournament. So that's
I was just looking at this and I was thinking, who is Crazy Steve?
My sentiments exactly. Then we keep going. We keep going because we're not done yet. James Storm is there. Maybe we give him the benefit of the doubt because we're not sure where he's going to go yet. But he's there and he's appeared on NXT. Keep going. Kenny King, he's also in the title tournament, but he doesn't work for TNA anymore. So again, you've got a guy on your website that you don't utilize, that is now left, and you still promoting him through your website. Doesn't make sense. We'll keep on going. Who else have we got in here? Anybody else? No, I think we're done. Oh no, sorry. Correction. Magnus is there. He's left as well. So you catch my drift, right? You catch what I'm trying to say here. They don't. It feels like they're giving up because they haven't even taken the time to update the freaking website with people who are current on their roster, and all they're doing is embarrassing themselves by doing this. If I go down to the TNA section with all the historical TNA guys that have been there in the past, and I start looking at the people they've let go. Good God, is it depressing? I mean, if you look at that roster now that they've currently got and you compare it to what they had, I mean, we've got AJ Styles, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian. On the women's side, you had Daphne. She was a good wrestler. The Young Bucks, Generation Me, really didn't book them well at all. I'll keep going. You had Jerry Lynn. You had Rob Van Dam, Samoa Joe, Sarita, I don't know if you remember her, but she was a good women's wrestler for TNA, and then she moved. Do you remember her?
I do, yeah.
You do, exactly. And guess where she is now?
Is she a trainer with NXT?
Yes, she is. She's a trainer for NXT. So, I mean, she wasn't wrestling, so WWE snapped her up and now brought her in as a trainer. TNA, where's the logic? Why didn't you do that? Think about these things. I'll keep going. Terra's there as well. Low-key.
Well, even if you go back to the main roster, like a lot of them in there, it's just to make up the numbers. I mean, Christy Hemme on the roster. The Pope, he's a commentator. She's an announcer. You've got Mickey James. Didn't she leave as well?
What's King Mo doing these days?
Ruling over something. I don't know. I haven't seen him on TV for months and months.
It's just, I mean, when you look at that roster page, it brings real realization of how bad it's got. And if you take away probably the 6 or 7 that aren't even wrestling there anymore. Oh, MVP's still there.
He's left as well, hasn't he?
He's gone, yeah. So if you remove all of them, then you are left with what? Threadbare. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing. If you think like if the WWE were to like put out feelers to get the Hardys in there and get like people like Angle as well, it takes out all that star power. There's basically nothing left.
Exactly. And I'll tell you something else interesting I know, it's just off topic, is Hulk Hogan's not listed in the historical section as well.
Right, they've probably got good reason for that, but I'm surprised they haven't got him in there anyway.
They've got Eric Bischoff, so that's why I thought they would have Hogan, but there you go.
They've got Brooke Hogan.
I know. Weird, isn't it? It's really, really, really bizarre. So, I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts of it all? If you look at everything at the moment, like, and you look at that roster and you think about, the way TNA is going.
Well, I just think the only way it's going is out of business at this point. I mean, we've had people like saying it just to like try and, bring down the TNA fans and say, oh, it's going out of business, you're not going to be able to watch it. But I think it is a serious case now where that could be the case. I don't know if you heard, but the tour that they've got, they haven't got any tapings. They've got some tours later this month for Halloween. They've actually cancelled the Halloween ones now, so there's no tour for that.
Right.
So it's getting even worse, and that was like a last minute thing. If you think that sort of, we're what, 10 days away from what the tour was supposed to start, around the 20th of October, and now it's being cancelled, it's not a good sign for TNA. There's no bookings for TV. We've got this supposed tour of India, but that's now been said it's a media tour. So they're sending over a couple of people just to sort of go around, and they said they were going to scout for new talent, but I don't see why they're bringing in new talent if they haven't got a TV deal in place, they haven't got any tapings in place. It makes no sense to do that.
I know, and I don't even know what product I'm going to get to see when it comes to January, or even if it is going to be there, the Maximum Impact tours. I mean, they just, when it was billed earlier this year, there was so much talent on it, and now it's like half of them have left.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be hard for them to actually get this tour in place next year, because when you think that they haven't got the TV deal in the States, I don't know how long the one in the UK on Challenge actually runs for. So they may have to like put together some matches just to sort of fulfill them commitments. But from what I've heard, the ratings on Challenge aren't as good as they used to be either. So it looks like people are starting to tune out of it. And it's just crazy to think that they've got these matches that are now thrown together for this title tournament, but with no tapings in sort of advance or anything like that. How are they going to put together sort of the finals of this and sort of the actual title match at the end of it? It's just kind of crazy to think what they're going with. And, without a TV deal, I think they're screwed.
And what's even more worrying at the moment about all of it is it's just like it doesn't seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel. There's nothing there to save them now. It's like, and I remember saying, well, there is a lot of issues there, but they do still put on great matches. But I'm beginning to even question that now, because the booking isn't allowing us to have great matches because they have all these dodgy fudgy finishes. It's they're even sacrificing that at the moment, and they did that when they did the GFW Takeover storyline. They kind of threw all their great matches and storyline building out the window. So it's like, it just feels like to me that there's just, I remember when they actually relaunched on Destination America and it was really positive. How that's changed, and that's not that long ago.
Yeah, well, I think what we used to do was like we'd get the WWE stuff, and then we would look forward to like TNA's events, because there'd always be like the great wrestling matches, the great wrestling events, and that's completely gone. I mean, NXT is sort of blowing them out of the water, and when you see it now, it's just like a dumbed down version of WWE.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good, and I don't think, like I say, this whole thing with the world title picture has done them any favors at all. I mean, it just boosted even more negativity towards the product. I mean, I've never seen so much negativity. People complaining about the whole injunction storyline, people complaining about, having the women involved. It's not anything towards women. It's just, again, it doesn't make sense. Why all of a sudden are you opening the door to women now being able to capture the world title? Why don't you just focus on making your knockouts division as good as it was like 10 years ago?
Well, I think it's cool that they're putting them in there. I mean, like, if you want to have like intergender matches with people like Gail Kim, I'm sure it'll be an amazing match to see. But at the same time, I think the only reason behind it is because you mentioned the roster is so small. You kind of need as many people in there as you possibly can. And because they're trying to put this out, I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm sure this will be something that drags on until January when they do sort of tape new stuff. But the more people that you get in there, the longer you can kind of drag it out, and the more matches that you've got in the archive to use.
Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't feel good. It's a sad and sorry state at the moment. I mean, like I say, you hope they'll recover, but it's difficult to see how they'll recover because they don't seem to be helping themselves at the moment. And I don't think the introduction of Billy Corgan to the product has done them anything at all. I don't understand it. He's starting to become more of a face piece on the TV now, and I'm not really interested in that. Ultimately, my biggest issue with it all is I don't think it was that difficult to fix TNA, and they have gone so far away from what needed to be done is they've completely blown it. So, like, for me, I reckon if I could book that company, I could book it all right with the talent that they had. So they had, Austin Aries, James Storm, they had AJ Styles and people like that. You could turn that around, but they don't have that now, and it's even more difficult. And you have got good talent on that roster still, but, I mean, it's limited. And the booking staff, like, they got that, is it Mahabri Shira doing that stupid Shira shake or whatever it is? I mean, that's a great booking, isn't it? That's really good. You've brought this guy and you make him look like a dick.
Well, it'll work though for the Indian audience, because apparently they're saying that I can't remember what network it's on in India, but like the help to make it the most, well, they say the help to make it the most viewed sports network in India now. So I'm sure it gets like a huge audience over there, but you're kind of like alienating the rest of the audience just to kind of pander at them.
Look, whether or not it's over in India, it's a shit gimmick.
It's a totally shit gimmick.
I'm not going to fuck around. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's bad.
It's better than Dixie Carter's major announcement gimmick, because she made a major announcement this week that she's going to India to make a major announcement.
Great. A couple of botches, just to mention, on Bound for Glory, because I might as well do it. Challenge decided to call it Explosion. They announced it as back to the action of Explosion, which, much to my delight, I decided to remind them it's actually the biggest TNA pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory, and you've gone and told us it's like their third-rate show. And then I also noticed that there was no special commentator on the show, that they'd been promoting, saying we were going to get a third person in the commentary team. And
I didn't know there was going to be a third person.
We didn't get one. They said there was. They said that there would be someone else at Bound for Glory, and they didn't do it. Thanks.
That's weird.
So, yeah. It's not, like I say, it's hard not to be negative about TNA at the moment. It's worrying. And like I say, WWE are just reaping in the rewards of it all. But speaking of, like, you know, moving back to positivity and embracing it again, NXT Respect was a good event. It was an
amazing event.
It wasn't just the Iron Woman match that was awesome. I thought the tag title tournament, the Dusty Rhodes tournament, was wicked. I really enjoyed the matches there, and I thought as well. I'm going to let you say her name first because I'm really struggling with this one.
Asuka.
See, that once you said it now, I'm all right.
I should have let you just say it first to see what you come up with.
Let me butcher it. Yeah, I thought Asuka's debut was quality. I really like her. She's a bit different. She's a bit out there. She's a bit crazy.
It's definitely out there.
So the whole event had lots of elements to it, and all of them were good. So like it wasn't just, you know, standard matches. You obviously had the Dusty Rhodes Invitational. You had the debut, and then we obviously had the Iron Woman match. For me, I'll tell you what stole the show for me, and it might surprise many of you. What stole the show for me was Jordan and Gable against Corbin and Rhino. That match was so good. Everything about that match was so good, and I'm like becoming like the biggest Gable mark going. He's just wicked.
Are you ready, Willen and Gable?
I am. But the Chaos Theory was absolutely mental to Baron Corbin.
It was crazy to see that.
Loving seeing that move, because I was always a fan of when Doug Williams used to nail it. And I think Doug Williams, maybe, I'm not 100% sure, I think he might actually be at the ICW show I'm going to at some point on Sunday. So if he is, I hope he does the Chaos Theory, because that move is sick. It's just crazy. I love it.
Such a cool move to watch. Like, it was amazing to see him pull it off, and it looked so good.
So yeah, not just that as well. Actually, the way that Gable went into the End of Days.
Yeah,
it was just
that finish. Like, I tweeted it out. I love that finish. I didn't see it coming either.
It's totally insane. I thought for a moment that Jordan and Gable could get past them because it felt like that. And what they did as well, the way they booked it, they made Jordan look really strong. Like, so it wasn't like he was afraid of Corbin. He wasn't fearing Rhino. Because they're almost like, you know, they're kind of. You would expect WWE to book them a bit coward-like, to be nervous of someone like a Corbin. But they really didn't go down that route at all. They were like, the way that they did it was like, no, you're the bigger of the two, so you shouldn't be afraid of them. And you got to go in there with the confidence, with the arrogance, and you got to go in there and go toe to toe with Corbin and Rhino, and that's what he did. And it is a bit of a rip from Hassan Benjamin, Charlie Hassan Benjamin, don't you think? But
it's very Team Angle.
But obviously he did the bits with the straps as well, kind of went a bit nuts. But I just loved it. I just thought these two guys are like money. It's just like wicked. And Gable's just got everything going. It's like, he's good on the mic as well. I've seen backstage segments with him.
Yeah, I've seen a few on NXT. Like, he is really good. Like, I think he's like a big star for the future.
The crowd were like pro Gable. It was like kind of deafening, to be honest with you.
It was like, there's so many like young talents in there, as well as like all these TNA guys that were getting brought in. Like the young talent themselves, like Gable. It's amazing to see. There's just so much talent down there.
So, I mean, that for me stole the match. And a lot of people were chanting boring Corbin, but I'll give him credit where credit's due. Him and Rhino stepped up, and if it wasn't for their powerhouse display and the ability of Gable to sort of take those moves as well, I don't think that match would be anything near what it was. And the way that Corbin, moved Gable in the air to do the end of days, and he also did another move as well, it was just... it was credit where credit's due. I don't think there was anything botched or anything like that. It was like a perfect match. It
was a great match, and like you say, credit to him. I mean, he's not someone that I'm like a huge fan of, but this match I've got no sort of complaints whatsoever. I thought it was a great match from all four guys.
His entrance is totally intimidating, though. The theme music, everything about it. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think like he's got that feel about him. If they keep marketing him well, you do get that sort of, don't mess with me.
You do. It comes across that way, and I think he's got that great look as well. So he's someone that I'm sure they'll, kind of like Roman Reigns, the way that he's got that look. I think he's someone that they will push, and regardless of whether the crowd sort of warm to him or not, I think he's someone that's going to get pushed in the future, and we'll see him on the main roster pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, Rhino as well. I mean, he did a fantastic job, and I mean, the tag tournament in general has been a really positive thing for NXT, because sometimes you sort of started worrying a bit with NXT that they were getting a little bit threadbare with the talent at a moment when they started pushing, Banks, Charlotte, to move up with Kevin Owens, and it was quite a quick push of all that. But I mean, watching that Respect event, the talent pool down there is endless. I mean, you're getting these tag teams coming through. Is it? I haven't really seen much of them. Is it Dash and Dawson? Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Dash and Dawson,
and like, they're like a bit of a throwback. They kind of remind me of Beer Money.
A little bit, yeah.
And one of them looks really, really like Anderson from the Bullet Club. Just to put it out there.
Well, I think like what you've just said there, like the last couple of months, like a couple of months ago, when we've seen Sasha and people all move up to the main roster, it was like, well, the NXT roster is starting to get a little bit big, and we were kind of worried, especially when we had Eva Marie in there. But then, like the last sort of months or so, like they've gone from a really thin roster of people that you didn't really know, bringing in new talent, to us now talking about like Dawson and Wilder, Jordan and Gable. So in a short time, they've built up these guys, and it's really entertaining to watch. And it just shows you NXT doing everything right. It's not like TNA. They've got everything spot on in what they're doing. Not just the wrestlers and the talent, the matches, the storylines, everything. It just all comes together so well. And I kind of fault anything that they really do.
Yeah, and how simple was this event to book? I mean, how easy was it? It was from start to finish. It was really basic. Like it wasn't anything overcomplicated, and the finishes weren't particularly overcomplicated either. All very simple the way they did it. The tag tournament, you had obviously with Finn Balor, you had the issue with the knee, so you wanted to play off that the champion's not as strong as what he was, and that was definitely a good move, because I was like thinking from the offset that Joe and Balor were going to win easy peasy, but the way that they played on the knee, you were thinking that they could be picked off at some point. So they booked it so smartly, and it was so simple, just to make the Balor look a little bit weak. There was questions around whether Joe would, sort of support him, because Joe looked a bit concerned about, the knee and him doing the coup de grace when he didn't need to do it. Joe could have taken control. And as the night played out, it kept going that way. I'm going to ask you, can you say her name again?
You can say it first.
Asuka.
There you go. Wasn't that hard, was it?
I don't know. I just keep, every time I come to mention her name, I have like this mental block. I'm just like, it just doesn't feel right to say it. It doesn't feel right saying it. But
well, I think it's worded out Asuka, Asuka. So they use silent, so it's just Asuka.
But even her debut was smartly done. I mean, they brought her in against Dana Brooke, who's like a proper heel, she played up to the crowd. She did it nicely. The submission moves, and she's quite keen on the strong style by the looks of it. The way that match played out really suited her strengths. Dana Brooke was a good person to put her in with, can move easily, and even at the end, it was like a sign of she's nuts, so don't mess with her, because they had to go look at, I think, who was on the outside of the ring? Emma. They had to go up to Emma and sort of just stare at Emma, and Emma's like trying to look away, like, don't want to know you kind of beat up my friend. And the way
crazy person.
Yeah, and it was great because that's what you've done. You've now established a character. You've established she's a bit of a bit of a loose cannon, and she's definitely going to be in the mix for the world title picture at some point for the I was going to say the Knockouts title for the NXT Women's Championship. No, exactly. And I thought that booking was perfect. And then we moved to the Iron Woman match, and this is what TNA should have done at Bound for Glory. Good match, good outcome. Good match, simple finish.
Absolutely. Like, you thought, like, how are these going to go out there and top what they've done last time? And having 30 minutes to work with, it must be so hard to plan out a match over 30 minutes and make sure you're spot on with that timing. And I think they've done an absolutely incredible job. I mean, the way it was played out with Sasha being like the ultimate heel, I absolutely loved it, and the dirty tactics that she was using to get those pinfalls. And it really sort of put it across when you seen Izzy in the crowd and she was crying her eyes out. And it was like, wow, this is so good. It's just, Sasha is an amazing heel.
She was, and it was kind of funny with that little girl, to be honest with you, the way that she was doing that. She's kind of milking it.
It was so cool to watch. Like, it was probably heartbreaking for her though. Like, she was really invested in it. Just like such a big Bayley fan, you kind of felt for her, and like the crowd all got behind it and they were like chanting, "Go to slap Izzy," and it was so amazing. Like, I honestly absolutely loved it.
It was good. It was all good, and that's what you come away with when you watch that sort of pay-per-view. You just come away with positives, and that's how it should be. And that's why TNA should have never. TNA used to do that. TNA used to do that, and they simple is better in my point of view.
It is. Like, we just sort of going back to the tag team tournament. I was kind of worried that the tag tournament was in there, because usually when you have a pay-per-view and it's got tournament matches in there, it's kind of a bit worrying in case it's too much. But the way that was played out, and it was like all sort of not overly booked. So we had like a clean finish in the end. We didn't have like Joe leaving Banner because he was injured or anything like that. It was all respect and it played to it. And I think that was exactly what you needed. You don't need these like finishes where it completely goes over the top. And I love the way the Iron Woman match, I guess we should say. It was weird that they called it an Iron Man match. I thought they'd go with Iron Woman.
Yeah, they kept saying that, and I was thinking, why can't you just call it an Iron Woman match? It'd be much more simple, but no, they didn't. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of when you've got like a big payoff. The big payoff is usually just to make sure it just happens, and it's a pinfall finish or something like that. I don't like all this where you add like 60 swerves to get to something. It's not always necessary, and NXT is proving that. They've done it so many times. Like, we look back on things, and when they do swerve it a little bit, it leaves you thinking, well, I want a bit more, like they did with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn when he took him out. It was like, and I just think that the booking, whoever's down there, it must be Triple H that's influential on it, but he's got it spot on. And that's what's more even makes it for a TNA point of view and an onlooker. It's like every time that they pick up another guy, like a James Storm and stuff, you just kind of feel that they're going to book him in the right way that gets him over. Samoa Joe is now benefiting. We were all a bit worried about him at the time, but you just look at him now. He's in great shape, and he's being booked in a position where he's hanging around with Finn Balor. So you can only see positive things for his career to come.
Absolutely. It's just amazing booking for it. They're getting everything right. And people like Storm that coming in, I'm sure they've got no worries whatsoever about how they're going to be booked. Whereas in TNA, I think you'd always be questioning that and just wondering what is sort of in the long-term plans.
Yeah, I'm excited to see when they come over here, because it's just getting better and better. There's no sort of negative to take from the event, I don't think. So it's actually nice to have a WWE event that we can say was just awesome. But isn't that the same with every NXT Takeover event? I don't think there's been a bad one yet.
They've always been amazing events, and I think it's something that we always look for at these takeovers, because we know exactly what we're going to get. And it's just an incredible night of wrestling. It's so good. The only kind of worrying thing, I guess, from the whole event was, did you see the bump that Sasha took? Where she kind of landed on her head again.
Possibly. Not the backwards Hurricane Rana, no.
It wasn't. It was like an arm drag, but she kind of went head first into this, so it was quite worrying for a point.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they take a lot of risks. I really didn't think they needed to do the backwards Hurricane Rana again, but they did it. So,
Well, they reversed it this time, so she landed on her feet.
yeah, but still, when you're doing that backwards flip, there's no safety there. There's no safety net. There's no guarantee that you're going to land that way.
It's a huge risk.
So I think to myself, is it worth you doing that? But obviously they did it. But
it just shows you though what they're willing to do, especially like knowing that in the main event, and it's a huge credit to them that they're willing to take these chances, and it certainly pays off.
I think the worrying sign is if you're like a Bella and you're watching that again, kind of gives you a bit of a rocket up the arse, doesn't it?
It does, but at the same time, I don't think they've got too much to worry about, because when they come to the main roster, if Vince is still booking it, they won't be putting on their matches anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think Sasha Banks was saying that she didn't want to leave NXT because I think she knows she won't get the matches that she's getting in NXT up on the main roster. So that's a bit worrying.
But I'm sure that's what a lot of people are thinking. I mean, Kevin Owens, he said it. I think this was like taped WrestleMania weekend. They had like an NXT panel up, and he says like when he got the call to go to WWE, there was talk of him sort of going straight to the main roster, and at the time he was actually like kind of disappointed because he wanted to go to NXT, and luckily for him he went NXT, and I think that's a feeling that a lot of people will sort of take when they go and sign with them. I don't want to go to the main roster, I want to go to NXT. I want to have these matches where I can actually show what I can do and get the time to do it, whereas if I go straight to the main roster, I know I'm going to have to sort of play down things, and I'm not going to get the time to put on the matches. I would much rather go to NXT and have these amazing matches.
Yeah, and that's what I think everybody's coming to the conclusion of, and that's why I keep saying that I think that NXT is we've always said this before, it's its own brand, but it feels like now it's at a point where people don't even want to go up to that main roster because they know it's not as strong. So it's great in terms of a business size for the WWE. They've got two alternatives, but I think from a superstar point of view, it might be a bit worrying if you're being forced to move up.
It is. I'm not surprised, Zach. Right? I went back to NXT. Like, if I was on the main roster, I'd be like trying to get down there as well. Oh, I need some extra training. Can I go to NXT?
Yeah, it's. I'm really excited for the future when it comes to NXT. So it just gets better and better and better. I think that sums it up.
Does? You can't say better than that?
No. So lastly, we are going to mention Raw, which there wasn't a lot to talk about, but we're going to also mention Brock Lesnar at Madison Square Garden because there was a segment with the Big Show and Brock Lesnar. I personally, because we've had so much wrestling this week, don't remember a lot of Raw, which is the problem, I guess, when it comes to things. I should remember Raw, but I don't because NXT was so much better. Yeah. What did you think of Lesnar versus Show at the Madison Square Garden event? I thought it was all right. And what did you think of the Madison Square Garden event overall? Again, I thought it was all right.
I thought Lesnar against Big Show was all right, but at the same time, it was kind of disappointing staying up to watch that because we knew it was going to be a squash match, and as soon as he hit that suplex, it was kind of game over at that point. It didn't take him long to actually get the pinfall in. It was cool seeing him do the F5, but at the same time, it's something that we've seen in the past, so there's no kind of mystery of, will he be able to lift the Big Show? And then the rest of the card, I felt it was quite disappointing, to be honest, the matches. I mean, when I seen like Owens was taking on Jericho, I thought this could be an amazing match, but at the same time, it didn't really kind of fulfill it. It felt like a live event, which it was.
It did, yeah. It did feel like a WWE live event. It was. I thought that match was the best match of the night, to be honest. The Jericho Owens one. I wasn't really that bothered about the cage match. I just couldn't. I can't get into it. I couldn't bring myself to watch another. I know they've had awesome matches, but it just didn't feel like I wanted to see that again. Rollins versus Cena again, and then obviously Kane again getting involved. It's just really done with the whole authority stuff at the moment. I'm really bored of it. I want a new direction. And that's what that Madison Square Garden event came to. And we all knew that Lesnar was going to beat Big Show. And I was worried about the complete, utter no-sell of the choke slams because, I mean, this is a move that apparently the Big Show's taken out everybody with. And Lesnar rocked up from 3 and he made it look so easy to do so. And then you've got Big Show coming out the next night saying he pushed him to his limit. No, he didn't even hurt him.
Absolutely. That was one thing I actually tweeted through it. Like, I think it was really awkward booking. And I think a lot of people actually agreed when I said this. Because if you compare the Big Show and the Undertaker, then the Big Show looks to be in better shape. He's much stronger, he's much bigger. And the choke slams, the height that he gets on him, like that should have really hurt Lesnar. Where at the end of the month, we'll see the Undertaker take him on. And I'm sure the choke slams won't be anything like the Big Show's. So how are we supposed to believe that that's actually going to be a threat to Brock?
He's not anymore, it's just, I don't know. I wasn't, I thought they would have been better doing what they did with like Kofi, where they just put a random in there against him and could have just built it up on that. But instead, we had the same old thing. We really didn't expect Big Show to do very well. And he took quite a few big bumps. But, I mean, when you compare it, John Cena took 16 German suplexes, Big Show took 4, and then lost via an F5. Are we saying that Big Show's that rubbish now that that's how you defeat him?
Well, at the same time, though, like, if you take into account the size of him, then those German suplexes are really going to take a lot out of him.
I guess, but I will still say that John Cena took 16.
That's John Cena, though. He's superhuman.
So I thought it was an all right event, and that's the way I came out of it. And I think Raw has come across as all right because there's not a huge amount that I take from it. I think you mentioned that, that Summer Rae has married Ruru or proposed to Ruru, and that's as good as it gets. And I'm not even going to bring myself to talk about that segment that much because
did you even watch it?
No, no. Why?
You totally missed out, though, didn't you?
Bet we had some classic Rusev faces, though.
Oh, you always get classic Rusev faces. Yeah. I had Summer come out, showing a video package of like, well, she was bigging up Rusev of like being someone that's achieved so much this year. And then she showed a package of what he'd achieved, and it was literally just the moments with Summer. And then that led on to Summer proposing, and Rusev was like, took a while to think about it, and he said yes. Everyone was happy. They were both happy. But then Rusev's like, but you'll only get gold around your finger when I get gold around my waist. So it was a case of they're not going to get married until Rusev gets gold. And what I didn't understand was straight after that, we had the US Open Challenge. Ziggler's music hit. We're all waiting for Ziggler to come out, and he didn't come out. And then eventually we had the New Day come out and they'd attacked him. So I thought, well, surely with what you've just said, it would have made more sense to have Rusev beat up Ziggler and take the chance in the Open Challenge to go for that gold.
So then did the New Day beat up Ziggler then?
They did. They beat him up backstage, and then they come out and Big E took up the Open Challenge, which was actually a great match. I'd much rather watch the New Day. I'd watch them in every single segment of the show. They're that good. But I thought it would have made more sense to have Rusev then go for the gold. And it's got the history with Cena, so it would have made sense.
It would have been sense if they actually could give Rusev a decent push, but
it would have took him away from Ziggler. I think that's what I was hoping for.
Oh dear. So yeah, I mean, I think it's making it become abundantly clear that when you look at Raw, it's not even getting on the level of NXT at the moment.
It's not. I'd much rather watch NXT, and like you said, I'm not surprised if you got it because we've had so much wrestling this week, and we remember the great moments. We don't remember the Raw moments.
The Raw moments. Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a downer to finish on, isn't it? Really.
Well, we do have an announcement for Hell in a Cell, though.
Do we?
Did you catch that?
No.
Did you even watch Raw?
I watched it live because but bear in mind it was the Monday, and I'd obviously been to see Sting, and so now I was watching it live, but kind of like fluttered in and out of my like dozing.
Were you just staring at your picture with Sting?
I was, yeah, to be honest.
Well, we got an announcement for Hell in a Cell. So Steph made the match that we've officially got Seth against Kane. Well, we've got Seth against the Demon, but the stipulation of this...
Oh, I know now, yeah.
...is if the Demon doesn't beat Seth, then Corporate Kane loses his job as Director of Operations.
Fucking hell. Shocking, eh? Shocking.
It is. It's shocking.
Big.
So yeah, Kane's going to be hoping on the Demon he can actually like achieve this. Otherwise, he's going to be out of a job. Maybe like if he goes back though to like just being regular Kane, then he can take out his frustration on the Demon, and we're going to have Kane against the Demon.
Oh no, we don't. No one wants that. Well, I mean, when you said that, it just kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now. And yeah, it wasn't very good at the time. That's why I forgot it.
I can't blame you.
So yeah, I mean, it was obvious. It's not in is it in the Hell in the Cell or not?
I don't think it is. I don't think it's been announced as a Hell in a Cell match.
Great stuff. Great booking there. So this is a match where Kane wants to get his hands on him and he's not even going to get it in the cell.
Exactly.
Fucking stupid. Yeah, that on that bombshell, that really does kind of close We Talk.
It's a tragic note to end on, isn't it?
I can't believe they're not going to put it in the cell.
It's not in the cell. I've just checked. We've got 2 Hell in a Cell matches. We've got Undertaker Brock and Roman Reigns against Bray Wyatt.
See, why would you go with the Roman Reigns Bray Wyatt one in the cell? I mean, I know it's not that easy. That's fine, and Bray Wyatt better go over, by the way. But you know, the Kane match makes sense to put in a cell.
It does, but like at the same time, I guess the reason they've gone with Wyatt is to stop the outside interference. But I'm sure Harper and Strowman will be at ringside ripping off the cell door to get inside.
Yeah, someone will get in somehow, some way. Oh well, I guess you can't have all the good things in one week.
You can't. We've been spoiled with lots of NXT stuff and lots of wrestling, so that's to be some down points.
Exactly. So have you got any shameless plugs for us this week?
Well, I've got some 2K16 news in regards to the Creation Suite and what's available. So that's going to be coming up later today. It's actually being billed as Create a Star this year. So instead of Superstar, I guess they changed it to Star just to sort of fit the divas in there this year. So it makes a little bit more sense. If you're a Doctor Who fan, new episode tonight. But ahead of that, we've got TARDIS Talk with me and Elle. So that's really good to get some predictions and theories on what's happening. And yeah, aside from that, I'm going to go play some more Star Wars Battlefront because it's been amazing.
What is Star Wars?
I knew you were going to say that. You are such a dick. Download it and I'll kick your ass.
You didn't buy it when I tweeted it out the other day. Why didn't you buy it?
I didn't. Well, I didn't see what you tweeted out. I
tweeted
tried
out
to like avoid all this nonsense on my timeline.
I tweeted out the question, "What is Star Wars?" ? And you didn't choose to tell me. I was told that someone's dad would kill me if I said this again.
I'm not surprised. I'm sure you'll have like a lot of people like following you around. It'll be a riot.
So what do? Just fly a little plane around and go pew pew pew.
No, you run around. You've got to take down the AT-ATs, the AT-STs. It's amazing stuff. You get to play as Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. You don't know any of these, so I don't know why I'm naming them.
Do you get to play as Harrison Ford?
You don't, unfortunately. But that's Han Solo. You can't call him by his real name.
Why not?
This is ridiculous.
Is Natalie Portman in it?
Are you going to download it? It's free. Play it.
Why would I do that? I have no idea what I'd be doing. I'd just be running around going pew pew pew.
Yeah, but then I can kill you, and it's like fulfillment for me. You can run around, you can be like, what is Star Wars? Have your microphone plugged in and just have everyone hurl abuse at you.
I should do that, actually. That'd be quite a good trolling video, wouldn't it?
There you go.
What is Star Wars? So what have you been doing on it then? What have you been conquering? Any sort of conquering?
I've been conquering the rebellion.
The rebellion?
The rebellion, the Rebel Alliance. It's so cool because you play on the ice planet of Hoth. So you've got like all these like giant walkers coming towards you. And you have to try and take them down. But it's impossible if you're playing as the rebellion because it's so hard. It's well overpowered for the Empire.
Sounds like some sort of spin-off for Baywatch.
What?
What was it called again? The Ice what?
The ice planet Hoth?
Yeah,
how is that
Hoth.
a spin-off?
David Hasselhoff.
Oh, God.
That's what I'm saying. See? You're just playing Baywatch.
Let's just never mention Star Wars on We Talk again.
Ah. Well, yeah, well, no.
We'll have to stick with wrestling and just like talk about how past it Stung is.
That's absolutely fine. I can clearly see that talking about Star Wars just kind of winds you up to a degree. Just keep winding away. So now I know. The debate has been dangled, and you can reel Smack Talks in. Great stuff. Making a note of that now. Smack Talks doesn't like when you take the mickey out of Star Wars.
I'm sure you're going to get hate in the comments, though, from everyone watching this. Everyone's pro Star Wars.
Hold on a minute. It's a bit like Star Trek.
Oh, God. That's like comparing like NXT to TNA.
I've done it now. Made the note now. It's sorted. So basically, I can remember if we ever talk about Star Trek, then you're going to get all wound up. Oh, sorry, Star Wars. Whoops, my bad.
You can take the mick out of Star Trek all you like.
See, I think I know something about that. Don't they say "beat me up, Scotty" or something like that, or "beam me up"? Beam me up, not beat me up. I don't give a shit.
Just stick the Shockmaster in WCW.
Oh, that'd be fine. I love the Shockmaster.
Well, he had a Stormtrooper helmet, so there you go. You've got some Star Wars reference.
Exactly. Oh, awesome. Brilliant stuff. So, yeah, the Shockmaster. That's as much as I know about Star Wars. So, from my side, I guess we've got some sort of plugs. Saturday Night Main Event coming later on. Might be doing a couple of collaborations, maybe. Should be quite interesting as well. So plenty of stuff going on. Yeah, Saturday Night Main Event, just to mention it as well, will be moving to WWE 2K16 when it comes out. And the final pay-per-view for that on WWE 2K15 is going to be Hell in a Cell. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I think it's going to be a good final event.
It should be amazing. Like everything that's gone so far, it's like NXT. You kind of come to expect it.
I know. That's what I mean. I can see all the challenges coming my way for 2K16 because there's about 100 different abbreviations of Universe Mode that keep coming my way. Like, I think we've got the J-Man's one. I think we've got Hayden's one. There's a lot of them, to be honest with you. So the competition is going to come, but we are going to champion that competition.
I foresee a new challenger coming in 2K16 as well to Saturday nights.
Is it going to be you?
I can't announce anything just yet.
Well, as long as it don't involve Star Wars, it'll probably be all right.
Well, there may be a faction in there called the Rebel Alliance or the Empire. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, Lord. No issues there, then.
We'll destroy you just like Alderaan.
Who the hell is that?
See, I love bringing up these quotes and little references to Star Wars because you have no idea.
No, I really don't.
I'm just going to keep doing it and then go over your head.
Great. Anyway, I guess that brings us to the end of another We Talk. And so, Smack Talks, do you want to say goodbye and then you can go play and fly your spaceships around and all that shizzle?
Absolutely. I'm loading up now. I'll catch you later.
Cool. And this is Delzinski and Smack Talks for another We Talk weekend, signing out.
Hi wrestling fans and gamers, Velvet Sky here, and I just want to say I've been hearing a rumor that Delzinski.com is the best place for video gaming and wrestling content.